All right. I don't know if this is part 4 or part 2, but this is another thing that whatever this one is, it's another one of it. So we've been kind of doing this more off the cuff couple of episodes, just processing ideas around discipleship, engaging media more critically, challenging the idea of definitions around art and Christian culture and stuff like that. And Femi was mentioning this idea before I hit record of like everything is marketing and where that fits into evangelism and using stories as a part of evangelism. So I have thoughts on that too, but I want you to keep on what you were talking about. So you're giving this example of like reaching a goal and then the ultimate then what question as that goal is met.
Yeah, so there's a kid who was a freshman, I was a sophomore, and we were in an honors program together. And he's like, yeah, Femi, like everything is marketing. Like it was this big epiphany. And I was sort of like, yeah, whatever, dude. But then as I've gotten older, I realized like, yeah, your goals that you're setting, there's usually some type of marketing that's involved that tells you that that's a good goal. And if you become a CEO of a huge corporation and you have all this free time for vacation and you're balanced and you're respected, like that's great. You're doing the thing. And now you're stuck doing the thing. Are you sure you love that? Is that the version you love? Lawyers calling you, being on planes when you got to be on planes. Like you don't get an option when a client calls you. Client calls, you got to come. Like you're free, but you're not really free. And if you were to go, I'm going to sell it and retire. Like, cool. Now you have all this free time, but one, money is still leaving you. And so that's why some people are afraid and try to make as much money as they can. But two, like you're still sort of stuck with like, what are you going to do? Are you going to work out? Are you going to sit around all day? Are you going to sleep? Are you just going to go visit family? What are you going to do with your time? And as a Christian, do either of those the maximum way you can glorify God? And our evangelism is trying to break through those messages of build your life and then enjoy resting here on earth. You know, people are trying to live. And I was telling my wife today, like there was a guy who was just, as we were leaving the grocery store, he was just walking sort of hard. He's an older man. And I was like, man, this health movement today is so disrespectful to this guy because he's in his like 60s, 70s, whatever he is. And he's made it that far. Yeah. And people who are 40 years younger than him are like, oh, I got to do all my workout and my red light there because I don't want to be like that guy when I get
Yeah. Give me my GLP-1s and my kelp juice or whatever.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to be like these old people. I got to be a different version of an old person. I got to be a sexy old person. But
dude, can we just pause right there? I like that is like a whole movie like satire I would love to do is just the obsession of the modern day being
we gotta
like
do it in time sometime.
I gotta look so good before I go.
It's like the movie, you know the movie I'm talking about, right? In Time.
Which one?
With Justin Timberlake, where they all have clocks on their arm and they can like be perpetually young, but they have like it's a countdown clock.
Oh, interesting.
So if you like have like millions of years, that's if that's the time you die, years and years and years later. And so people are watching their channel, and then poor people don't have that much time left.
Sure.
And rich people have like so. We got to do it sometime. I got to find it.
Note to both of us. Yeah, note to both of us.
Anyway, but like, yeah, people just don't want to be like old and decrepit, so they're trying to live forever, trying to reverse aging, and it's this marketed idea of what life is supposed to be.
Yeah,
and we're competing with this idea that says, no, this life is not what you're here for.
Yeah,
like this life is to be lived as a living sacrifice. And if you do that well, you will be in community with the one who gave his life as a living sacrifice for you in perfect work forever. There is no like retirement, heavenly retirement. It is, there is different things for us to do and participate in praise of the one God in glory forever. And that will be great. This world sucks. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's hard work, man.
Even if you're a sexy 85-year-old man.
You know, then you got to deal with ugly people. You know, just joking. Just sort of joking. And that idea of I don't want to have to deal with pain and problem and issues is marketed. So we have a mandate to try to connect with people, and sometimes to get to the vulnerability, it's easy to do it with a fiction. Because getting to that real like stuff feels a little sort of pointed and like I'm calling you out of like, are you eating all your chia seeds because you're just selfish and you want to be better than everybody? Like I can't ask you that question to your face Because I was like, no, it's just like what the research paper said it was good. You know, like, do you not care about your health? I'm like, of course I care about my health. Also, Korean food is delicious. Like, the idea becomes, how do I reach them? And using a fictional example, it's not only easier for me to talk to somebody about it using the fictional example and asking their opinions.
Yeah.
For really, really hard things, it's also really helpful for people to say, I'm going through a hard thing and I don't know how to talk to Femi or Josh about it. But this movie that I know they've seen has a character that has gone through that hard parental thing or through that hard relational thing. And if we talk about it somewhat dissociated from me, it is a path to talk about it and how it affects my life without me being humiliated that I have to bring it up, right? Without me feeling shame that my mother and my father doesn't talk to me, without me feeling shame that I have this bad past sexual experience, that I can talk about it through the lens of this character that we all sort of can look at a little bit stepped away from. And then when I say, hey, I'm struggling with this thing, they can go, oh man, that like changes my, and we can just think about it for a little bit without me feeling just so exposed. And that, I think, is one of the reasons, one of the many reasons that Jesus used parables.
Yeah.
Talking about farming and farms, like, we don't have that agricultural, but the people then did. And that was really helpful to connect of, you know what it's like when you, at the end of the day, if you get a pay and it's not as much as other people, what if you got paid the same amount as the people at the beginning of the day? At the beginning of the day, those people would be ticked off if you got paid the same amount, wouldn't they? Okay. You get it. That's what the kingdom of heaven is like. We're not trying to say that it's not good for you to start at the beginning of the day, but even if you come at the end of the day, it's worth it. It's like, oh, okay, Jesus. All right, Yeshua. I'm picking up what you're putting down. That idea is how easily, hey, some of you hear me, you get it. And it's going to be good for you. You're going to grow and it's going to be work, but you'll grow. Some of you are going to like walk away from here and forget everything I said. Some of you are going to think that you got it, but life's going to get hard and you're going to be like, this ain't worth it. Like, some of you are going to just be beaten down. Like, it won't help you at all. This idea is something that if you are living the life, you get it. And for us, because we are media saturated, going like, hey, you saw this clip of the Coldplay couple? Let's talk about like what we believe about chastity and fidelity and marriage and love and care. Like, what do we think about that? What's your opinion? And I'm not calling you out for something, you know?
Right.
So from everything is marketing all the way through, what fiction allows us to do is to talk about these really, really deep things in areas where people don't feel just like attacked for the goals that they're setting based off of the life they're being marketed. Yeah.
Dude, I love that idea because I think that's been one of the things that I've wrestled with. I think, honestly, even in the idea of promoting what we're trying to do is, as a marketer and someone who has like literally had a marketing job, I have been in the room when there has been, for example, a product that our company has that isn't good for the environment. It's not really popular. People don't really like it. It's ultimately not what the company wants to be selling. You know, there's competition because bigger fish in the pond, like someone like Amazon, literal true story, is like buying our version and remaking it for cheaper and selling it for cheaper. And the question does not become, is this something that we should continue to even be selling? And are there greater and better things for us to be putting our time into? The question becomes, how do we make this more enticing for people? How do we make this more valuable and change the narrative around it to be more like something someone would buy? And I think it's interesting how I feel like that game has been played in the sleazy side of church culture, you know, like when you think of like Kenneth Copeland's and like the big prosperity gospel people, or churches and leaders who have just kind of like played the marketing game of like, oh, we're going to have like the big fancy lights and build the narrative around like art and creativity and coolness and relevancy and all that stuff. But it's edgy. Like, because we're edgy, you know, and like that's the story. Like marketing is literally just a story. Like I've been teaching a media or a video production class at one of our local colleges in Milwaukee, and we were just doing some lessons on the difference between personal content versus like a film versus like an ad. And we were talking about how an ad is supposed to be like a mirror. That's like one of the few pieces of content that is specifically meant to be a mirror that gets you to see yourself in the thing, because it puts you into the story. It makes you the hero. It solves your problem and helps you feel like, oh, I'm seeing this imaginary way of how things could be or how my issue could be solved. And so
those food videos get you.
Dawn, don't get me started. Yeah, right. Like Dawn, clean your dishwasher with Dawn. You know, it's just like, oh my gosh, I get it. But I think with the idea of evangelism, like that to me is one of the kind of adding into what you were saying is that the power of a creative story is it allows for one, a dissociation, and then two, I think also there to be a level of creative nuance that gets captured in how we talk about an idea or a problem or an issue versus it being a combative, like, so you believe this, you think this is your value, this is what you think, versus if we're talking, you know, let's say like, just for the sake of irony too, a bunch of office workers and they're talking about severance, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, do you feel like you have to be a different person at work, like Mark, whoever, you know, and Severance? And they're like, oh, shoot, I've never had to think about that, right? Versus, hey, you were different at drinks than you are right now. What's your deal, right? Like there's a different art or story or marketing tactic to just like make the one more approachable that brings people in and gets them to see themselves in the conversation versus it being this abrasive setup of like, I'm gonna have this like really sharp point, like ready to get you, you know, about a question or a topic that, you know, you need to be ready.
A really good point of that is like sports for men. Like people are like, why do men like sports so much? Well, one, they're fun to play if you play them, but two, like it is one of those other proxies for how do we talk about a deep thing? Like how do we talk about injustice? We don't talk about injustice. We talk about how the ref made a bad call. We talk about the impact of the trades. We talk about what that does.
Oh, I hate the salary cap. What a sham.
Like, what is this doing?
Exactly.
Right. With the NIL conversation, which is name, image, likeness, for those of you who are cinephiles and do not like sports, of collegiate players who are not paid typically, and now they are, but collegiate players are not paid, but their names and likenesses were used for collegiate like basketball and football games. And so there's somebody making a whole lot of money off this video game, and they're not one of them. And so someone said, well, this is not fair. I was like, well, they're student athletes. They get free education. Like, this isn't a big thing. Like, why should this be an issue? And you heard a lot of the philosophical debate around it because of sports.
Yeah.
And yeah, should somebody who get paid when they're getting a benefit somewhere else, should they also be getting paid if they're the best player in the country and a whole lot of people are buying tickets and the school's getting more recognition and research funding is coming to the school because somebody who is on the admissions committee likes watching that? Like, you never know, right? Like, on the grant funding committee, it was like, oh, I'm between two things and I like this school, and the school has, you know, we'll call it this thing and arbitrary. Like, there's so much rigor around these things to try to figure out what's fair. What is fair? And sports is also one of those things where you get to sort of see, hey, everything is as fair as we could make it, supposedly. Let's see who's better.
Yeah.
I think that for me, I like having deep idea and thought exercise conversations. It's like, let's say blah, 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 blah happens. What do you think? And people hate those conversations.
Yeah.
If I bring
I'm
up.
Not one of them, but I've been in the room when you are that person that loves the, like, we're stranded on an island that has zombies and you get three music albums with you.
Yeah,
like, what do you do?
Man, it's like being a brain teaser kid. You just like, oh yeah, what happened? I wonder. But it's just not as societally accepted. But if people like having the question of what else could the Avengers have done to defeat Thanos?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you can go a little too far, but like, there's a lot of options.
Mm-hmm.
Could any of them been better? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really helps someone like me have those thought experiment conversations in a way that's more palatable to somebody who doesn't normally think that way, who might be stressed out by different things, who might be distracted by all the scrolling they do, or all of the dating they do, or all of their kids' activities and flooding around from sport to sport to sport to sport. A kid who's not going to go pro in any of them. Like, to get, hey, step back for a second. Do you think that this is good? Like, I love, and I was talking to somebody, like, I love Gladiator, right? But like, revenge is not the highest thing. I just personally, in my human soul, I like the idea of revenge.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I know that's not the way that life should go.
Yeah.
It feels like a vindication when I've been wronged. But like, I know that's not like an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. I think that being able to pivot to film, being able to pivot to movies and songs, really exposes things. I'll do one last thing and then I'll kick it to you to sort of close this out.
Yeah.
With music, because we don't talk about music a lot, I noticed the language of one artist in particular. I won't call her out because I don't want that smoke. I just don't want it. But this artist would like say all these things that are about like them being so into themselves, and then also sing love songs on the same album that were about how much they pined after this person. Yeah. I'm like, which is it? Are you confident, or do you like love a person with your whole soul? Which, like, pick one, please. Yeah.
You better be
like,
swift
I
with
love
your
myself,
answer.
and I'm myself, and I'm the one who, I'm the prize.
Yeah.
And, oh no, baby, I love you, I love you, I love you. Like, which one is it?
Yeah.
And you can do the baby, I love you without feeling weak. You could just be like, look, I'm confident who I am, but all the things I see in you are so amazing. I pick you. I want to be with you. Will you let me serve you? Will you let me love you? That's another song. But music, you sort of see this exposure between all the writers and these ideas that they're holding in tension. And if somebody does write all their stuff, you can be like, well, hold up. Those two songs sound different. Like, respect to Taylor Swift for how much she does write her own stuff. She does not write all of her own stuff, but like how much she does. And you can see on some of the things she writes that are definitely more personal, because I have a wife and a 5-year-old who 5-year-old thinks they like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Wife who appreciates Taylor Swift. And as somebody who is born 4 days before her, as looked up in high school, she's doing much better financially than I am. And I can call her out because there's I don't have any smoke from Swifties. Swifties are fine.
You're great. Leave us alone.
Yeah, I'm not touching nobody. Okay.
Yeah.
You can see in those songs, there's a writing that's a vulnerability compared to the ones that are like party songs.
Yeah.
Right. For her life is continuation and not just like a contradiction. For other people who don't have the same longevity of, 18, 20 years of being in the music industry, you can sort of be like, oh, that album had a lot of contradictions on it. That is something you can see over time, and even in music, start to ask people about if they're a big fan of an artist. Like, oh, I hear you're a fan of the artist. It takes you an hour to listen to an album, 20 minutes to like look up some lyrics and be like, hey, I heard you say you like this. Like, as a Christian, I care about you and I want to know blah, blah, blah. Hey, I heard you say you like this. What did you think about this song? I thought that was weird. What does he mean? What's she mean?
Yeah.
What are they talking about?
Yeah.
And then have that person sort of jump in and be like, oh, you heard the album? Let me tell you everything. Now you have a connection point without it being completely fabricated because you actually had a question about the art. So, yeah, it's a really good evangelistic thing to combat the marketing that says, cut out all distractions, just go for your goals. Like
also the distract. Also, I would say too to cut out the marketing that listening to something that isn't inherently Christian is going to like corrupt you and ruin your life too. Because that's something that when I was teaching my 11th grade philosophy class around like media and like we would watch and listen to like different stuff. We had this really interesting discussion one time where we were having a conversation and I was asking them like, do you ever feel like the stuff you listen to is like changing you or stuff like that? And they're like, well, you know, like I could see this way, but a lot of them were like, that's such a dumb idea. Like they just were like baffled by the concept. And so one of the students was basically like, we're not sponges. And I was like, oh snap. Like that I feel like is one of the marketing sides of, I feel like evangelical fear sometimes is that if we convince everybody that, well, that like you're this soul sponge and everything that you see, think, hear, whatever is just going to get sucked in and you have no power over it. And, you know, so therefore just like plug your ears and cover your eyes and jam your head in the sand and whatever. That I don't feel like one is theologically accurate to even some of the things Jesus says about like what goes in versus what comes out. Mm-hmm. But then two, I think it misses the point as well of like how engaging different works of art, especially for people who are around us who don't have a saving faith, can be a huge point of connection and deeper like discussion, like you said, where like even for me, we did a really interesting exercise when I think it was when Kendrick's most recent album came out. So it would have been last year. And there was a song on it where like in the lore of Kendrick Lamar, he's like a Christian or struggles, but like people are kind of like, I don't know what to do with him. And so there's a lot of people who are very quick to defend that his lyrics are like very deeply like biblically laced, but there's kind of some other stuff. And then there was a song on his most recent album that came out that some of these Christian apologists were listening to, and they were like, ooh, he's making some references to some stuff that like aren't great. And so we listened to the song as a class because it was, you know, it just kind of fit. And, you know, they're jiving, they're bopping along, and they're like, okay, this is a banger. Like, I like this. I like the sound. And then we watched discussions about what was being said, and they were like, like, I had no idea that was in there. And so it became this deeper conversation of like, not shaming them, of like, yeah, see, like, there is all this dangerous. Yeah, you didn't catch it. But for them, it was, you know, I don't know how much of it stuck, but just the idea of challenging their narrative that media doesn't impact them at all. But then also that like you can have something like this and actually deeply engage with it and wrestle with, oh, wow, what do we do with this artist and some of the things that he's referencing? And are we drawing unhealthy conclusions about his faith, who he is, what he's saying? And is there maybe some danger in like overanalyzing and getting too caught up in the weeds? Or like, what do we do with this? And so I think truthfully, I could imagine, and I pray that this is the case, because I feel like this is kind of like one of our big theses as a team, is that in having and starting those conversations with people who would not consider themselves Christians, we can show ourselves, what is it in 1st or 2nd Peter, where it's like thoughtful in how we are engaging things, and to prove ourselves to be not just rigid and scared, but also not just going with everything either, and to like be representatives as Christ followers of what does it look like to not be afraid of art and creativity and humans wrestling with this experience of life and earth and the world, and where God fits into that or doesn't fit into it and whatever, and to hold art in its proper place, where it's not this always inherently demonic force for like mass manipulation and drawing people away from Jesus, but it also is something that we can kind of let slide under the radar. And yeah, just like being more intentional in our representation of how we engage with things, I think can speak volumes to what our faith is and how it functions in our life, versus it just being, you know, I don't swear. Like that's kind of how that plays out.
Yeah, I was gonna quote. I don't know if this is the thing that you're thinking of specifically, but I think of the 1 Peter 3. The always
that sounds
to give a defense for the hope.
That Yeah, that might be what I'm thinking. There might be something in 2 Peter too, because I think he kind of continues on that idea.
Yeah,
but
15,
but to that idea,
it says, but in your hearts revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect, keeping a clear conscience, so that those who speak maliciously against your good behavior, you behave in Christ, may be ashamed of their slander. And I think that's sort of what we're asking people to do, is think through things well. It slows you down. It's a good practice, helps you with discernment, and do it with a clear conscience so that you're not caught off guard by liking Remix to Ignition, but not knowing it's a horrible song.
Right.
Like, it's, those two things are both, like, I don't listen to the song, but it was on the radio when I was a kid, and it was a bop. And I was like, oh, this is a cool thing. Like, I sort of know some of the innuendo it's talking about. It's not my age bracket yet.
Yeah.
And now as an adult, I'm like, it's just not worth it to me to listen to stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not great. But I can tell you that musically, if I take the lyrics and make them all gibberish, that still goes. Mm-hmm. I'll sing "Body Buddha Bada Bada Ba" to the same thing, and it still goes. And so that's the clear conscience I have.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that I continue to have discipline so that I have continued good behavior, and that continued behavior would make somebody who says, "Hey, I knew you when you were younger," go like, "Yeah, but you're different, and you become more different every year because of what Christ is doing in you, not just because you think like, oh, you're saved and that's it. You're like, you're going back to Him and going back to the cross and seeing more sin and trying to work on it like all the time." And it's something you think about and obsess over, not because it makes you any more saved, but because you realize how much you've been given, how much you've been loved by the God who gave everything to you. That you're like, oh man, how do I tell people about this? How do I work at this? How do I understand people who I want to make my enemy and love them better and defend what I believe and all this stuff? It's all that together that helps with this message.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think that's it. I think we've ran our course and we've said all there is to say. There are no more words.
Only for today.
Only for right now. Thanks everyone for hanging out. This is Parable Arrows Podcast. You can check out some of our stuff on Instagram and YouTube. I did want to highlight that it's been a while. This is kind of a test essay, but I want to do more of them once I have some more time. I did an essay about the first Alien movie, which is one of my favorite movies, and connecting it to 1 Samuel 8 and this idea of like signals and messages and what we follow and why we follow them. So if you'd like to check that out, that is on our YouTube. It's like maybe 6 minutes long. So it's just kind of an essay reflecting on Alien and that Bible passage. We also have some awesome interviews that I got to do with a filmmaker named Rafiq. He has a documentary named Let the Church Say that is awesome and has like won some awards and stuff. So I got to talk to him over the summer. So there's some videos with him. I shouted out Cinema Theology, Hadid and Hoseas. I did some discussions with them. So there's some stuff that we have to go check out. So I would definitely recommend spending some afternoon or popping those in. They're good listening. You don't need to necessarily watch it. But other than that, we got some things cooking, but behind the scenes, not yet.
Yeah,
we'll share.
Also working on models that'll be helpful for people.
Yes.
Yeah, just like slowly working on those and getting those vetted. So they are helpful tools to build your own tool belt instead of just listen to what somebody else says.
Yeah. And I will actually take the moment here to throw out there, one of the things that we are looking for is feedback specifically for things that people would find helpful when it comes to discipleship media, specifically around supporting youth pastors or teachers in like middle school and high school environments to kind of help them. So if you happen to be someone who's in those environments or knows someone who's in those environments and is like, hey, we're really wrestling with this situation or these kinds of questions or this kind of environment, like what could we do or things like that. Those are the things that we would love to speak into and help and potentially do more kind of like off the cuff podcasts like this, like either responding to questions or, even creating like resources that could be helpful. So definitely do not hesitate to send us an email, parablearrows@gmail.com, or if you happen to listen to this on Spotify, I think there's a comment section now, because Spotify is just turning into another social media platform at this point, which is a whole nother thing. But yeah, so feel free to reach out to us. We really want to, our ultimate goal, if it's not clear, is to build up the body of believers and to really, to equip oh my gosh, it's too late, dude. I gotta go to bed. I can't talk. To equip Christians to model a Christ-like life, even in the media that they use, and how to then pass on deeper questions and deeper wrestling in a way that is edifying for everyone involved. So, so we just need to know what that looks like for us to help do that with our weird brains and obnoxious passion for movies and stories. So, Femi, you have anything, close out, thoughts, updates, things?
Be careful what you label Christian. Know that discernment and discipleship are more important than just having an answer. Take your time with people to care for people.
Yep.
And story is a really good buffer.
Yep.
I think are the 4 sort of general topics over this last series. So those are things that I'd say, just if you don't get anything, like, try to get that without all of our, or specifically my, rambling.
Oh, dude, we were both rambling aplenty, but hopefully it was helpful somehow, some way. We'll let the Spirit move. That's his gift. Let the church say amen.
Yes.
All right, with that, thank you for tuning in. We will see you in the next episode. Peace.
Peace. This episode was produced by Josh Erickson, Josh Cook, and Femi Shoba, and edited by Josh Erickson. Our social media producer is Colton Mefford. We are currently self-supported. You can check out short stories, merch, and highlighted creators at parablearrows.com. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Parable Arrows, or support us on Patreon. Thank you for listening to the Parable Arrows podcast. Think, move in faithfulness, and trust God. Pull back, aim high, let it fly.